Good morning, welcome to day 6. And you might have realised that this is happening on the same day as day 5. That's because yesterday I totally forgot to do day 5. So today you may well have just watched day 5 and here is day 6 coming at you straight after day 5. Now, I love talking about text messages because our society is now one where often our chosen means of communication is a written message. We can text people, we can WhatsApp people, we can Facebook Messenger people, we can email people. We've pretty much got the ability to instantly message anyone, anytime, anywhere, for any reason. And therefore it becomes a very effective way to communicate, but it also becomes a lazy way to communicate because we often take shortcuts when we're writing a message than we would if we were actually having the face-to-face conversation. So when I work with clients about how to handle difficult conversations and how to have the most meaningful conversations in the most effective way, I always coach something that I call eyes, voice, fingers. And that is a preference of how to have an important conversation. If something matters to you, or what you're about to deliver will really matter to the other person, then my encouragement is to always look them in the eye when you say it. Now, a lot of people, they feel very uncomfortable about delivering bad news. Maybe they're ending a relationship. Maybe they are challenging somebody's performance at work. Maybe they are just saying no to an invitation or a social event. Bad news is much easier delivered eyeball to eyeball, and I'll explain why. So if it matters to you or you think it will matter to them, look them in the eye when you say it. If you can't do that for whatever reason, I don't mean don't choose to do it, but if you can't do it, then at least let them hear your voice. So at least deliver that message or have that conversation over recorded voice notes rather than text messages, because that will allow them to get a better feel of the message, the reasoning behind it, your emotion, than it would if you just typed them a message. So if you can, look them in the eyes. If you can't, at least let them hear your voice when you talk about the topic. And if you cannot do either of those two things, then you're going to have to use your fingers to text a message or write a message. Now, people think they're able to convey their emotions really aptly on paper, in a message form, on email, on text message. The risk is that they don't understand. Any written message is read in the mood of the reader, not the mood of the writer. And if there was one thing that I could help people understand about text messaging, and the one piece of advice that I give my kids over and over and over again, is every message that you type with your fingers will be read in the mood of the reader, not in the mood of the writer. And you and I have probably both received text messages where we instantly get the ump when we read them, or we take offence, or we just get frustrated or cross, or we imagine the person sending it has sent it from a disgruntled or an unhappy place. And actually, when you then have a conversation with them later on, you realise that that wasn't their intention at all. We read their message like that because that's how we felt. They might have been having a great day and just dropped a quick message. And normally, because it's easy, we get lazy. And so we write in shorter sentences. We leave out details to save us time. And we assume that the person will know what we're talking about. And therefore, we're upbeat. We send them a nice little, what we think is an upbeat message with some information in it. But if the person that we're sending it to is having a dreadful day, and they are having, a really negative or an emotionally wobbling day, and then they get our ambiguous, lazy message, they won't think, hang on, I can feel her vibe. She was upbeat when she wrote this. They will read it in the mood they are in when they read it. And that means that they might interpret it as short, as ambiguous, as offensive, mildly aggressive, passive aggressive, or just rude. And if that wasn't your intention, then you're just damaging that relationship and the connection between you and the recipient of that message. And I also speak to lots of people who will tell me that they have had some sort of fallout over text. You know, there's been some issue and there's been a back and forth message exchange. And actually, it makes the situation 10 times worse. Well, of course it does. Because only 7% of everything that we communicate is in the words we use. In a text message, that's all the recipient's got. They've just got 7% chance of understanding what you wanted to communicate. And likewise, when you read a text from someone else, you've got 7% chance of really understanding and being right about what it was they wanted to communicate. If they were to drop you a voice note with the same message, then you'd also have that 30% of the communication that we exchange in the tone of voice. So you've got the 7% of the words that they've chosen, and you've also got 30% of the tone of voice they've used to say the words. So therefore, it's much harder to misinterpret information when you can hear someone say it. Because you can hear them be upbeat, you can hear them be cross, you can hear them be serious, you can hear them be jovial, you can hear them giving you banter. But when you look someone in the eye, not only do you hear the words that they've chosen to use, you can interpret the tone of voice that they're using to say it with, and you can read all of those 63% non-verbal clues of their body language, their facial expression, their eye contact, those micro expressions on their face. We've all got the friend who we know a tilt of an eyebrow or a jutting of the chin means we're in for big trouble. You know, you get an opportunity when you look at someone speak, even through a lens, to read 7% words, 30% tone of voice, and 63% non-verbal clues. That's why text messages are riskier when you are trying to communicate something important. They're fine for everyday information exchange, of course they are. But when it really matters to you, or it will really matter to them, I'd love you to think about the power of eyes, then voice, then fingers. Because written messages are interpreted and read in the mood of the reader, not the mood of the writer. So if you have to deliver difficult news, upsetting news, confrontational news, disappointing news over text, then the best thing I can encourage you to do is to not be lazy. Use long enough sentences and enough words. Reiterate your point several times so that you remove as much ambiguity as possible. And the way in which you're writing almost replaces them being able to hear the tone of your voice. But it will never, ever, ever replace the positive impact that a conversation face-to-face will have. So the next time you get a text message from someone on any medium or an email and you just think, oh, that feels a little bit prickly, or I'm not sure what they mean, do me and you a favour, dial their number and try and look them in the eye and have that conversation. Say, just got your message, let's chat about it. Because the beauty of a face-to-face conversation is people rarely remember, believe it or not, what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. When you have a spoken conversation, people will forget the exact conversation. Have you ever had an important conversation and someone says, what did they say? And you say, oh, well, I can't remember all of it, but of course you can't, because we are emotionally wired beings. You are looking to see how you feel, and the decisions we make are not based on the logical part of our brain. The decisions we make as a result of communication we received is based on the emotional part of our brain. So we're always trying to work out how we feel about what we've heard rather than the logical interpretation of what we've just heard. And so therefore, when you have a face-to-face conversation, being able to do that means people will remember how you made them feel, and they won't hang on to and screenshot and reread horrible messages that make them feel dreadful. Have you ever done that? Have you ever stored a set of messages and said, you can't believe they sent me this? And you keep it, you reread it, and it works in your mind, and you add to it, and you imagine what you'd say in response, and you get yourself so worked up that's you destroying your peace. It's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. You know, you wind yourself up about communication. No one else gets hurt, just you. So when you are going to impart an important piece of conversation or communication, eyes, if you can't do that, voice, if you can't do that, fingers, but don't be lazy, because that message has the power to help or hinder your portrayal of that piece of information. Right, that's it. I'm up to date on my videos. I'll see you here tomorrow for day 7. Enjoy. Bye.